I, 46M, have 2 children, Fia, 13F, and Kale, 10M. Their mom died 5 years ago in a car crash. We had been married at the time but only legally. For the last 3 years of her life we were pretending to still be together and we stayed married, but it was all pretending for the kids. We did not want to divorce for our kids' sake. Both of us came from divorced families and what I consider broken homes because of how badly our parents handled the divorces. We didn't want that for the kids. We feared we couldn't do better. The end result was us hating each other. It ran deep too. I regret that now. The last words we exchanged were not kind. Our kids deserved better than that. Better than having parents who hated each other because we were so afraid to divorce. So after she died I was determined to let go of all that hate and I was determined to make sure the kids knew they were loved by both parents and were not burdened by the issues we'd had. Their mom and dad both love them. I truly believe their mom's love still exists for them in them. And they deserve to know that love. That was what I focused on. So I saved everything of hers for them. It's all stored safely for them one day. And a couple of years after she died, I did remove most of the photos of our married life. But I let the kids keep 2 photos of their choice out in the open in common areas of the house. The rest are either in their room or stored for them with the rest of her stuff. My kids love and miss their mom so much and it brings them comfort to have her photos out. I make sure they can always talk about her or ask questions. They also have a very close relationship with the 3 siblings she spoke to. This is my children's home above all and I make sure it always feels that way. When I met my wife, I remarried last year, I told her about the photos and said a partner of mine needed to accept this. She did. We got married. Nobody has taken the photos of my kids and their mom down. But my in-laws do have a problem, and maybe they're speaking on behalf of my wife and she's not open. I'm still figuring that out. They were staying with us at the weekend and during a dinner they questioned my kids about keeping the photos out when my wife now lives with us. My kids said they like having photos of their mom they can see in the house. My in-laws began to say that it was inconsiderate of my wife and they should not be in common areas when I stepped in and shut them down, and I told them that this is still my children's home too and part of that is displaying photos of their mom in their home where they can be seen. I told them it did not need to be discussed more. The following day my in-laws said I had no reason to be so rude and I had an unhealthy attachment to keeping their mom present in their lives when she's dead. They told me they should be allowed to question things about their daughter's home and I overreacted. Comment 1. NTA. Your current wife knew that they would stay up. It kind of seems like your in-law are trying to erase your late wife from existence. Which is not okay. You were completely right to shut it down. If you were nicer about it, they might have just kept pushing. I would make sure that they know, if they are uncomfortable with it, they don't have to come back to your house but the pictures are not coming down. And if it is coming from your wife through them, she should have decided it wasn't okay with her and she should have moved on, not get upset later down the road and drag her family into it. OP comment. That's how it appears to me as well. The tone they used suggested that my wife should be enough for my kids to not want or need their mom's photos anymore. My wife and I are going to be discussing all this. If she's not okay, it needs to be aired and not kept and told to others for them to intervene on her behalf. And if it's not from her, then I would like to think she would also tell them to stop. Comment 2. NTA, it wasn't their place to say anything. You already had this discussion with your new wife and both of you agreed. Her parents just need to sit there and say nothing. That is their job, not poking the bear, creating strife where none needs to be. You did the right thing here. Shutting them down in no uncertain terms of what goes on in your house is you and new wife's business and not theirs. My wife, 30, and I, 42, have 2 children, 15M, 2F. I met my wife when she was a student in a trades program I used to teach at. She was 20 and working her off to support herself and her son. I helped her with her studies and when she left school I wished her well. She returned for her 2nd and then 3rd year of instruction. I literally watched her go from someone that was just barely an adult to a truly competent tradesperson. I helped her get a job with a company that trusts me to give recommendations for employees that have a future. She came back to see me when she got her white hat. That means she was given a foreman position. She came by to thank me for the help. I told her that she did everything herself and all I did was point her in the right direction. We went for coffee though. Then a couple of lunches. Then dinner. And so on. We got married about a year later. About 2 years after that our daughter was born. She went back to work and I took a job with a company as QC. I know that is a lot of backstory but it is relevant. My ex-wife is my mom and dad's favorite person. They like her more than they like me. Even after she divorced me because I stuck with teaching instead of making bank in the field. I have seen hundreds of relationships fall apart in my trade because the guy is never home. I am the only guy I know in the trades whose wife left him because he was home too much. She divorced me 3 years before I met my wife. But my parents still invite her for family stuff. She ended up marrying a teacher like herself and they seem happy. Maybe it was just me she did not want around. We had no kids together. So my dad retired from his big deal job and my mom had a big party for him. When she invited me she said it would be boring and that I did not need to bring my son. She has known him since he was 10 years old and it still bugs her that he is not biologically mine. I asked if my nieces and nephews were coming and she said yes. I asked if my daughter was invited and she said yes. I said I would talk to my wife about it and let her know. I did not bother. Anywhere my kid is not welcome I am not going to go. I took my family to Legoland that weekend instead. My son loves Lego and my daughter loves the bright colors. My mom was pissed that we didn't go. She told everyone that I chose to spoil my kids instead of celebrating my father with family. I told my brother, sisters, and my dad that she tried to get me to not bring my son. They all lost it on her. Now she is crying because everyone is mad at her for excluding my son and causing me to skip my dad's party. I would have kept my mouth shut if she had kept my name out of her mouth. All of my family, including my dad, have accepted my son into the family. My mom is the only one that has a problem with me adopting him. She is still mad I did not make it work with my ex. The reason I did not just show up with my entire family or tell everyone ahead of time why I would not be there is because I did not want a scene at my dad's party. I would rather be the inconsiderate Jay that goes on vacation than wreck a family event. And I did not want to expose my son to my mom and her passive-aggressive bullshit. She thinks that I was mean for exposing her. I just wanted a nice stress-free weekend with my family. Comment 1. NTA. If she felt her reasoning for excluding your son was reasonable and justified, then what is the problem with telling the other members of the family? She's upset because she knows she was in the wrong and got busted. You did the right thing. I too would have preferred to go to Legoland than an uncomfortable family situation where you don't feel welcome. Comment 2. NTA. You chose to do what was best for your family. Your mother purposely excluding your son because he isn't biologically yours is horrible. I would honestly go low contact or no contact with her because she isn't going to stop trying to exclude him from the family. So, until she accepts him, I would go LC or North Carolina for his sake. He doesn't need to be exposed to someone so toxic. He's a child and needs to be protected from those kind of people. I'm proud of you, OP, for standing up for your son. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, for 5 years, and we have 3 children. A few months ago, I found out from my wife's texts that she had been cheating on me, and I confronted her about it. She confessed to it, and gave me an entire breakdown of her affair, which had lasted for a month. I was devastated and asked her why. She gave no excuses for it, and said she had caught feelings for her affair partner which were wrong and she had acted on them. He was her co-worker. I asked her if I lacked in anything, and she said no, and she was in tears. I needed a few days to process this. My wife gave me space, but she asked me many times to reconsider divorce because it would uproot the lives of our children. She said she would do anything I wanted for the rest of my life. After a week, I decided that I needed only one thing from my wife to completely forgive her, and that was to call each and every one of her friends and family and confess to her affair. I told her that was my only condition. She was really hesitant and asked me if I could reconsider the condition because this would ruin a lot of her friendships and family relationships, but I told her this was what I needed as a part of my forgiveness process, and that if she didn't do this, I was going to start looking for a divorce lawyer. Over the next week, my wife made a phone call to all of her friends, parents, grandparents, siblings, uncles, aunts, pretty much anyone she knew, and confessed to her affair. It was hurtful, and there was a lot of crying. My wife was hurled with a lot of shouting. By the week's end, my wife had called everyone I had wanted her to call. It has been a few months, and my wife and I actually have a really strong relationship now. However, my wife has pretty much become isolated from her friends and a lot of her family. This has hurt her a lot, and she spends a lot of nights crying, but she says this was worth it for our relationship and for our children. Comment 1. ESH. I hate cheaters, but I don't understand what you're trying to do here. I guarantee you, your relationship is not stronger than ever. The public humiliation you put her through will stay with her until she explodes. It would be okay thing if she told a bunch of lies about you and it needs to be corrected. I just don't know what you're trying to do here. Comment 2. I don't know if you're the a-hole, but I'm not sure this was a smart move. More likely than not, she will start to resent you for this condition, and you will find out sooner or later that this punishment didn't actually result in you losing resentment over her actions. Go see a therapist together now that both of you are still determined to make this work. Comment 3. In all honesty, I don't understand how this helped you forgive her. Did you want to see her suffer or know ultimately there are actions to her consequences? You've literally ruined her relationship with friends and family when in reality I doubt it helped you forgive. She is now effectively on her own. She didn't cheat on those individuals. She cheated on you. You've invited others into your relationship with this condition, and as a result you both look incredibly foolish. So, basically I, 28F now, and my twin brother Leo, 28M, were raised by my mother alone in our childhood. She was married to my dad, but divorced him when she found out he was cheating, and he just disappeared and didn't even pay child support when we were 4 years old. My mom raised us alone, that grew up with abusive parents. She was a teacher and did her best to take care of us, and she was and still is simply the best mom you could ask for. Never abusive or unfair, never showed any favoritism. She was always interested in us and was the perfect combination of a fun, but responsible parent. As a result, my brother and I decided to do our best not to generate any problem to her. We did our best in school, didn't generate troubles, and did all our chores. My mom started dating our stepdad, Carlos, who was her high school sweetheart when we were 11. And this guy was always the father we never had, and loved us like their own. They also had our little sister Virginia, and we have been a big happy family. Now, our dad tried to reach us several times. But after a few disappointments, Leo and I decided to cut him off and appreciate that we had a great man like Carlos in our lives, who swore to us that he would never go away. Back to the present, I had been dating my now ex-fiancé Jonathan, 30M, for 3 years. We had been engaged for a couple of months and living together, and everything seemed perfect, except one thing: he sometimes would try to convince me to forgive my father and to invite him to our wedding. He knows everything that happened, but he's still insisting on the fact that he's family and I should forgive him. But I draw the line when he invited his parents and tried to make an intervention. I had to hold my anger as I heard all their bullshit, and I was about to snap, but I forced myself to calm down. I simply took off my ring, left it at the table and said that we were done for good. They were all shocked, and I stood up, grabbed my phone and called my ex-boyfriend from high school, Lucas, 28M, and explained what happened to him, and asked for some help to go back to my hometown. Lucas and I dated for 4 years, from 14 to 18 and broke up due to distant. We were friends since we were 6 years old, so he was with me through all the disappointments that my bio dad gave me. We're still friends and see each other when we go back home, and often call each other. He was angry, and told me he would be there right away. The town, it's only an hour away from the city I was living in. I started to pack my stuff, while him and his parents kept trying to make me change my mind, but I just ignored and called my mom and brother to tell them the wedding was off and that I would be going back home for a while. They kept telling me I was exaggerating, that I was choosing wrong, but I just packed everything I own and Lucas showed up pretty quick. Of course, my ex-fiancé was mad that I had called my ex-boyfriend, but I didn't care, and Lucas and I just went back home. Luckily, I work from home, so I don't have any problem moving whenever I want. I can work from anywhere. I decided to let know all my close circle what had happened right away, and they are all on my side. I arrived to my hometown, and my stepdad, mom and little sister received me with a lot of love, and told me I needed to do what felt right and not to force myself to get myself in a marriage if my fiancé can't even respect my boundaries and invalidates my feelings. Lucas said that I deserve someone better, and to try to focus on moving on. However, Jonathan's friends and family is still berating me for breaking up with him in front of his parents and leaving with my ex just like that. But in my defense, he didn't give me a choice. Part of me is thinking they're only doing it because they're his family and friends, but part of me is starting to believe that maybe I handled things wrong. I don't regret breaking up with him, it hurts, but it just feels better like this. But maybe I was too harsh. I don't know. Comment 1. NTA. You handled that amazingly and I wish I had your backbone. How dare he say he was embarrassed when he and his parents got together to pressure you to do something you didn't want to do. Let it be a lesson to him and his friends and family, don't bully the person you say you love. Comment 2. NTA. The fact your now ex would stage an intervention using his parents against you is a huge sign of things to come. Is this how he would handle other disagreements? Where you should live, how you raise your kids, etc.?